Is the ANC finding it difficult to deal with President Jacob Zuma's matter? Why was it easier for the ANC to deal with President Thabo Mbeki's exit than is the case with President Zuma? And are the ANC's top six and NEC fully behind President Cyril Ramaphosa? Is it likely that another State of the Nation address will be held before the budget speech? What time is it? It's question time. Welcome to the show. My name is Paul Fedi. The ANC finds itself in a rather difficult situation. While it is expected to show direction and inspire public confidence, it is governance at national level that seems to be taking a knock. At the center of all the confusion and uncertainty is when and how should President Jacob Zuma quit office. Three options are being bandied about. President Zuma may resign voluntarily, he can be removed by a motion of no confidence in parliament, or could face an impeachment. While all this is unfolding, time is already ticking towards next year's national elections. It remains to be seen whether President Cyril Ramaphosa and the party he leads will still find time to start preparing for the much anticipated polls with the voting masses fully behind him. Meanwhile, Ramaphosa says he started direct discussions with President Zuma last night. These deliberations are based on the transition and matters relating to Zuma's position as the President of the Republic. But how long is President Zuma likely to remain in office? We are live. Therefore, you can call us. The number's 089-110-4210. If you're outside the borders, +2789 1104210, our Twitter handle @QuestionTime24. And you can also live stream us on our Facebook page, SABC News Online, and our YouTube channel, YouTube.com/SABC Digital News. My guest, Dr. David Mnyai, is a political analyst from the University of Johannesburg, and Professor Lisiba Tefu is a political analyst, and he's joining us from our Hatfield studios. Gentlemen, let me welcome you.
Greetings to you and the listeners.
I think there's a question.
And David as well, by the way.
Yes,
Thank you. Good.
Well, there's a question that I asked here, which I know it's in everybody's lips. And I won't be exaggerating when I say actually the country is on a pause. Everybody, from your academics, your peers, people are not functioning properly because they are waiting for this news.
The center is not holding, and it hasn't been holding for a while. I think President Zuma's second term has been absolutely a disaster. Yeah. It has been running on autopilot.
Yeah.
However, the exit itself has been even worse. Unlike previous, there's absolutely nothing new with a president resigning, forced out. It's part of a democratic process. It's not only only a South African case. It happens in the United States, everywhere, in UK, and most African countries. It is managed well, and you limit the time in which you do this, but at the same time, a due diligence is supposed to be taken. There are political reasons, there are also administrative reasons that you cannot rush it, given the fact that some of the facts you have mentioned. One is the forthcoming elections next year. Number two, this is a constitutional democracy, and things don't just happen. You have to ensure that there's stability in the country, the timing matters, and you follow the law to the latter to ensure that the transition does not destabilize the situation further.
Okay, so would you say the ANC is handling this in an appropriate manner?
Given the nature and character of the ANC of 2011, defined by division and factions within, even though somehow resolved at the 54 electoral conference, but two camps remains there, not as active as they were, but within the NEC, you can just see the balance of forces. It's not like 2008, when the former President Thabo Mbeki was removed. President Zuma had the overwhelming majority in terms of support, and it was easy to process. In this case, it's a question of negotiation. I don't think the current ANC president is having his way. He has to negotiate within the party. He also has to manage a party that is going to a campaign to ensure that the opposition do not take advantage of ANC's problems.
Professor Tefu, let me bring you in here. Gaspedi bare fagolla sebrala mamjarla pamlala. That's probably the message the public are sending to the ANC.
Yes, but I'm calling for calm and really patience. It doesn't matter how long it takes, but it will come to an end. The contrary will be too costly to contemplate. I am for persuasion rather than forcing the man to leave. There is almost universal concurrence that it's time for him to step down. But I'm more anxious about the how and what possible consequences would attend to that should he be forced out.
How should the ANC be handling this matter? I've asked Dr. Mnyaya the same question. Do you think they are handling it appropriately? Is there any other better way to deal with this?
Yeah, I'm fairly happy with how the process is going, in the sense that let him be persuaded. Let me be shown reason. You know, one question that we don't ask, if you were to look you in the eyes and say, what wrong have I committed to warrant that I must step down? What is it that in law that you would say I have done on the basis of which I must go?
Yeah.
There was money I had to pay and I have paid. I have made an apology to the people. There are allegations, yes, but they are not yet tested. And yet you still want me to go. You may not get any easy answers to those questions if you were really to put them on the table. That notwithstanding, we still have, as David said, we are living in a constitutional state. And while we are in this constitutional state, you have a political party that some in it think President Zuma might want to go down with it. And if they are not careful, forcing him out might cause more damage, more division. Hence, Ramaphosa said, we are trying to the extent possible to ensure that there is no discord and there is no division. And if indeed we can help him out without a sense of jubilation, let's do it. I think it's no longer for me about time. It's about just working on it gradually, incrementally. Options for the President Zuma are very limited, if there are still any. But still, work on persuading him.
Ayanda, you're in Durban. Welcome.
Hi, Paul. How are you?
I'm well. Thanks for the call.
I'm good. And good afternoon to your guests, the two guests that you have there in the studio. Just a quick one, Paul.
Yes.
This is the problem that we're having here, or the ANC is having. The ANC is going to lose so many supporters, so many members because of this issue of Jacob Zuma. And another thing that you need to understand about this issue, Paul, is that there are so many people within the ANC, officials of government officials, who have already benefited from President Zuma's presidency, or from President Zuma as the president of the ANC and president. While he was the president of the ANC, and now as he is the president of the country, who have benefited illegally, who have got tenders illegally, who have got a lot of things from him facilitating and precipitating deals and all that. But the problem that he's creating is now putting himself in a situation where he's demoralizing the ANC. Because come 2019 in poll, maybe I might be wrong, but come 2019 general elections in poll, the ANC will be in a serious trouble of losing power. So the top six and the NEC and the NWC of the ANC must comprehend that this matter is not just a matter that needs to be dealt with, and maybe they need to keep on postponing on recalling President Zuma. They need to do it as soon as possible because it could dent the image of the organization.
I hear you, Ayanda. Thanks very much.
Paul.
Well, there is a feeling. I mean, you're dealing here with a political matter, not necessarily a legal one, and perception is everything in politics. I mean, do you expect a cadre of the movement to then prioritize the movement in this case, or consider the future, which may be very volatile?
I think the future of the party, firstly, comes handy. And let's face the dilemma that ANC President, Deputy President of the Republic confronts. ANC, if you look at the last elections, whether the local elections or national elections, ANC seemed to remain with a huge chunk of support base in the rural areas than urban areas. And therefore, President Zuma has massive support, particularly in KwaZulu-Natal, in other parts of the country, in the rural areas. And that remains, so to use the word which is popular in this country, captured. This is a captured electoral that ANC has. The elites have to be persuaded, and they have to work on the elites, given the fact that some were not voting and others voted the opposition.
Yeah.
So in this kind of reality, if you mishandle President Jacob Zuma, you are more likely to alienate his support base, particularly in KwaZulu-Natal. So you have to move with that electoral. It's not about the person, whether it's right, wrong, guilty or not guilty. It's a political matter. You have to handle it in a manner that comes elections. You move with this massive support base that he has. So that's one factor. And the most important is the question of the president remains the greatest asset any party should have. So as an asset, it's not sellable. President Zuma, you can't sell that product on the marketplace. And therefore, you have to get rid of this. I mean, if you're selling products, you have to get rid of it much quicker so that the buyers, as they select, they need someone with a better record. So they have to deal with all those issues, including the issues of constitution, stability, the markets. All these factors have to be considered. But the ordinary person wants action and wants action now.
Wiseman, welcome.
Good afternoon, Mpo, and good afternoon to your guest. Look, Mpo, Jacob Zuma once said that ANC is much bigger than South Africa. ANC comes first, then South Africa follows. What is happening now is the true reflection of what Jacob Zuma was saying. How can the ANC persuade a criminal to resign? You ask a very good question, Paul, during the start of the show that Thabo Mbeki was never persuaded. He was recalled, but there were no court cases against Thabo Mbeki. But now, Jacob Zuma, we all know, even the ANC knows that Jacob Zuma is a criminal. For the fact that they want to remove him, they know that he is a criminal. You know, Jacob Zuma is always setting a bad example. Look what is your analyst is saying now. He says, Jacob Zuma says, I paid Dinganza money, what else do you want from me? You know what is that example? He says to Wiseman that Wiseman, you can go to ShopRite with your 20 rand that you can pay a milk and steal that milk. When you caught by the security and then you say to the security, here is your 20 rand, what else do you want from me? Thank you very much, Paul.
Wise, thanks very much. Prof, let me bring you in here. I had thought the ANC is a nationalist movement which had, as a result of nationalism, brought together all people regardless of, their traditional or cultural backgrounds, language, creed, race, and all that. Now, why is it important to consider the KZN bloc in a nationalist movement?
Well, look at where you are. This is Africa, my brother. Ethnic extraction does inform, influence, and dictate the course of history. You ignore it, yes, but at your own peril. Those who are closest to the developments, and if indeed the SACP alluded to this point when they said Amabuto, and there is apparent mobilization, and in the main along ethnic extraction, it is not the right thing, but it's a reality of Africa, not of South Africa, of Africa. People very quickly retreat to ethnic and tribal discourses and solace in order to regroup and to advance their political agenda. Now, then there is a point of the currency of Jacob Zuma. He may have all these challenges, that's correct, but you cannot deny that he's still fairly popular in certain spaces, or maybe even in KwaZulu-Natal. And in numerical terms, that matters. That really matters, because he can at least go with a sizable chunk, or a sizable chunk can be disenchanted and demobilized. And I don't think the Ramaphosa and others would like that to happen, especially because they've taken a serious knock in 2014. The people have pointed a finger at them, and if they continue to splinter and to work in factional modes, and some may even say, are they not indirectly being encouraged to fire the man rather than to persuade him to leave? And he too says, if I'm I will not go alone. I can as well go down with the movement. I think I'm sympathetic to that view that says, let him persuade it and then minimize the damage to the organization and indeed the damage to the country. Yes, I cannot wait for him to leave, but I'm concerned about the how part of his departure.
And you are in Durban.
Hi.
Welcome.
Look, yeah, and anyway, it's lovely talking to you again. It's a long while.
Yes, yes.
I think actually it's a tragedy that with what is happening in the country. We've got the most beautiful country and on the whole beautiful people. And then we've got a president who will not do the good thing and just step down quietly and let everybody else get on with their lives. Really, and you know what is happening now is there's more and more support going through to the EFF. I listen to people, and there's more and more support going through, and I like the EFF. Even though they don't like white people, I do like them. They talk a lot of sense, and I believe in them.
Okay.
Anyway, thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Anne.
Thank you. Bye.
And there in Durban. Well, Dr. Mem, should the ANC therefore tread carefully on JZ just because there are some people who still believe in him, even though nationally it may be costly?
Yes, they have to do for a number of reasons. You don't want instability in the country. Mm-hmm. But having said that, there is a limit to what they can in terms of the passions. They can persuade him for a week, more than a week, 2 weeks, then it becomes a crisis of the party. They will be forced to take action at some point. And they have instruments at their disposal. They have already laid down what took place in Zimbabwe, where you negotiate with President Mugabe. At the same time, you activate all other arms of the state, parliament, with the debates of motions of no confidence, but at the same time you have courts and all other elements at the disposal of the party, and they have to find the best one for him as well as for the country.
Jackson, you're in Randfontein. Welcome.
Hello?
Yes, welcome, Jackson.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, how are you there?
I'm well. Thanks for the call.
I think it is better for Mr. Zuma to depart, really. I think what he's doing is bringing down the movement. And it will be better for him if he goes and these guys can take over. Because what they are doing, they are really advancing the agenda of the poor people of South Africa. Thank you.
Thanks very much. But Dr. Mnini, what's the worst thing that can happen if the ANC, suppose this NEC meeting had not been cancelled, it went on and took a resolution to say...
the number of crises that will come.
Yeah.
For instance, if he fires a deputy in the midst of all what's happening, it changes the entire setting. And let us not forget, he remains the President of the Republic. The Constitution recognizes him and him alone.
Yeah.
So as far as the state is concerned, he is the most responsible person, regardless of what the party is saying. And there are limits in terms of how the party can intervene on matters of the state. So having said that, forcing him out, of which is a simple way, if he goes kicking and screaming, bringing certain elements on the street, and there might be violence. So you have to do a security assessment and see to it what more damage is it. We go for the route that might bring instability, or you also look at if in absence of open physical violence, there's also a violence on the markets. How market deal with never-ending crisis and the lack of certainty in terms of policy and vacuum. The nature of state and politics and everywhere else, you don't need vacuum. You need to know who is coming, what kind of a person will be running the state. So as it stands, we are in that kind of, the man is a dead man walking, politically speaking. But on the other hand, you don't really know whether ANC President Ramaphosa will take over or not. So that need to be resolved quite quickly, and therefore I think the worst waiting would be the 22nd of this month, when Parliament finally puts this matter to an end through the motion that will be tabled.
Prof, your closing remarks, what do you say to those people that I was saying
Patience, patience, patience. It will come. We are almost at the verge of capturing the Victor's Cup. But recklessness might lead us in situations with consequences too ghastly to contemplate. But I want to comment on the point made earlier on that the man is causing the damage to the ANC. What the speaker or the caller forgets is that the ANC itself caused damage to itself. On the screen, it was reflected just now, the conditions under which the president can be removed. When they were called upon to do so, they voted against the motions that were speaking directly to the reasons that warranted him to be called. So belatedly, and when they are in a political conundrum, they want to pretend otherwise. It could have been done quite early in time and perhaps with less trauma. But as things stand, I'm saying let him be persuaded, and I think it's Ramaphosa's strategy, Ramaphosa's wish, and many others, because I am wary of pushing him out. The damage to the ANC effectively would be a damage to the country. A healthy ANC is good for the country. Let's wait and see what the next week will yield. I think he will be out, just a matter of time.
Okay. Thanks very much, Professor Tefo, Lisiwa Tefo and Dr. Mnyai. A reminder that indeed we'll be with you tomorrow. Please do join us again tomorrow, that is Thursday. From me and the entire crew, you have yourself a wonderful time.
Well, today we discuss the general practitioner or GP.
So the quality of the doctors coming through our medical schools is excellent.
Your GP is your family doctor. Your GP is your first point of care.
Who determines how much a consultation fee should be?
We set up networks of general practitioners, and one of the conditions of the network was to agree to charge a certain fee